Hello and welcome to COD News. I'm Shantira Wilson and we'll be looking in today's top stories, and we will begin with the impeachment of Donald Trump. We'll now go over to our correspondent, Anna Sig, who has details on the story.
The vote on whether witnesses will be allowed at President Trump's Senate impeachment trial takes place today, January 31st. Democrats want a testimony from witnesses like John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, who recently published a book on the topic. In his book, Bolton claims that Trump directly linked Ukrainian aid and the investigations of Democrats in a conversation in August. On the other hand, Republicans do not want to call any witnesses, hoping for a quick acquittal of the president. On Thursday, Republican Senator Lamar Alexander, a key swing vote, announced that he will not be voting with the Democrats to call witnesses, meaning the vote will be very close. In order for witness testimony to be approved, at least 4 Republican senators would have to vote with the Democrats because of their 53-seat majority in the Senate. If the vote ends up in a tie, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts would be the 101st vote. Shantira?
Now, how has President Trump defended himself?
Well, President Trump's defense has said that the impeachment is invalid because Trump was acting within his powers in the executive branch and did not commit a crime. And the House rejected this argument, saying that it would give the president too much power to do whatever they wanted.
The second case of the coronavirus has been reported in Chicago, bringing the nationwide total of confirmed cases to 6. The spouse of a Chicago woman who was diagnosed with the coronavirus last week has now tested positive for the virus, making this the first instance of person-to-person spread in the U.S. The man's wife first contracted the virus after traveling to Wuhan, China, returning to the U.S. on January 13th, and later started experiencing symptoms, including fever and shortness of breath. Illinois State Jennifer Leiden says the virus is not spreading widely in communities, and the general public are at low risk. 60-year-old woman and her husband has been in stabilized condition. The growing concerns of the coronavirus have not just impacted China, but has now impacted Japan, whom is on the verge of canceling the Olympics in 2020. Correspondent Haley De Silva has more information on the threat of the cancellation.
According to a report from ABC News early this morning, Tokyo is dismissing rumors of canceling the 2020 Olympic Games, which they are set to host in July, due to the spread of the ongoing coronavirus. These rumors began after a meeting about the virus between the International Olympic Committee and the World Health Organization, which has left many to wonder if there was a chance the coronavirus, which has already claimed the lives of 200 Chinese citizens, would affect the 2020 Games. However, Japanese officials report that there have been no deaths due to the virus in the country so far. Additionally, a representative for the Olympic Committee shared that it is a normal practice for the IOC to collaborate with all the main UN agencies as necessary in the lead up to the Games. But both Japan and the committee went on to say that there may be extra screening and possible rescheduling for Chinese athletes competing in the Games. They also urge all Japanese citizens to steer clear of traveling to China, at least in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Haley. Now my question for you is, has something like this ever happened before?
Actually, yes. Back in the last Olympic Games that were held in Rio de Janeiro, there was that outbreak of the Zika virus, which had a lot of people freaked out that it would spread with all the people going down there to see the Olympics, but it turned out to be okay. So they're hoping that the same will be true for the Japanese Games.
The Iranian missile attacks are still not over, as soldiers have been deployed in an attempt to stop the threat. Our correspondent, Jayla Smith, has more details on how U.S. troops are coping with the attacks.
14 more U.S. troops have been diagnosed with brain injury from the Iranian missile attack. 64 U.S. service members in total have all been diagnosed Thursday with mild traumatic brain injury. The troops were diagnosed by the Defense Department after the January 8th Iranian ballistic missile attack on 2 U.S. bases housed in Iraq. Traumatic brain injury, or TBI, is an injury that causes multiple defects, such as memory loss, depression, and concussions. The president has since made a statement last week regarding troops. I heard they had headaches, and that I don't consider them very serious injuries relative to other injuries that I have seen. 21 service members have been transported to Germany for further treatment and evaluation for TBI. More than half have been returned to duty.
Thank you, Jayla. Now, how long does it take for the TBI to stand by with the soldier?
It usually takes, it gradually gets worse over time, similar to PTSD.
Britain has begun their departure from the European Union as part of the Brexit plan. We now go to our correspondent, Kevin Ashley, who has more information on Britain's departure and what's next for Britain in the future.
Look, have you ever made a choice that you never fully understood, but you've already gone too far and it's too late to turn back now? Well, that is the current situation with the UK for the past 4 years with Brexit. It does appear that after these 4 years, though, that the British people and the European Union have finally come to an agreement on how the UK and the EU will have their exit plan, and is being implemented today. Now, Brexit is the UK's exit from the European Union. They decided this 4 years ago in a referendum during which the UK had a choice to leave or stay. And as you can see, they chose to leave. By doing so, the UK has decided to leave a very important trading bloc of nations. Now, the implications of this choice is still yet to be seen, but as of right now, the UK has a series of free trade and free movement agreements with the EU because of their membership status. But when midnight strikes in Brussels tomorrow, the UK will be out of the EU, not including a one-year transition period where the UK will try to figure out how it will reestablish all its trade deals again with Europe, since they'll be null and void at the end of their one-year deadline. But they will be out and no longer a EU member state, and the UK people will no longer be EU citizens. Last night, Twitter's trending page was blowing up with some UK citizens upset with how the vote turned out. Together they discussed how much they loved Europe and how much they will miss being European citizens. But today is the day the UK leaves Europe, and what the future holds with the United Kingdom is unknown.
Now, will Scotland or Northern Ireland vote to stay?
So, currently, when it comes to that, when the vote happened 4 years ago, Scotland and Northern Ireland were two parts of the UK that voted heavily to stay in the European Union. Back in 2014, when Scotland had its referendum vote on independence, they decided to stay with the UK because the UK said, if you stay with us, you'll stay in the European Union. And then 2 years later, they ditched the European Union, taking Scotland with them. So now there is massive talk about Scotland independence yet again, and with this current leaving of the European Union, it might just happen. And Northern Ireland may want to go back to the Republic of Ireland as well.
A husband and wife have been charged in Wheaton for running a fake charity for veterans, which led to an investigation that started back in July 2019. We will now go live to Jordan Haig, who has new details on the sentencing of the couple.
Todd and Priscilla Oshlewski were arrested in Florida late last year for an outstanding warrant that came out of DuPage County. Wheaton police had initially arrested the couple in May of 2019 after an investigation into their nonprofit organization, the Veterans Christian Network. Wheaton police had launched the investigation after receiving complaints about intimidation and other, quote, aggressive soliciting tactics. The Oshlewskis were both charged with felony count of misuse of charitable funds, allegedly using at least $100,000 of the charity's money for personal use such as rent, veterinary bills, and car payments. Priscilla Oshlewski pleaded guilty to the charge on July 29th of 2019 and was sentenced to 170 days in jail. Todd Oshlewski had failed to appear in court multiple times and resulted in him and his wife being branded fugitives. The Oshlewskis are now in custody in DuPage County Jail, where Todd Oshlewski is being held for a $75,000 bail for the misuse of charitable funds and an additional $75,000 bail for the violation of a bail bond. Priscilla is being held on a $2,075 bond for the misuse of charitable funds. According to the detainee records of the DuPage County Sheriff's Office, Priscilla's court date is today, later this afternoon, and her husband is set to appear in court the 10th and the 17th of February.
Thank you, Jordan. Now, when were they booked in Illinois?
They were arrested and booked on January 17th of 2020 and are now in DuPage County Jail.
And coming up, we'll hear about a heartwarming story of a dog's life saved by vets and the owner's super way of thanking them involving the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is a time for football and, of course, commercials. For David McNeil, his dog Scout was given only a month left to live, but with the help of vets, they helped save Scout's life. David was so pleased that he decided to purchase a $6 million Super Bowl commercial to thank them. Our correspondent, Sam Stevenson, has more details on the remarkable story.
This story will have any dog's tail wagging with excitement. David McNeil, CEO of WeatherTech, has purchased a $6 million ad for the 2020 Super Bowl, promoting the University of Wisconsin School of Veterinary Medicine. McNeil's own dog, Scout, was treated there last summer after the golden retriever was diagnosed with cancer within his blood vessel walls. What started as a tumor with little chance of being cured is now almost completely gone, thanks to Scout's treatment of chemotherapy and radiation he received from the university.
Now, what would the commercial detail?
So it's just going to show clips of Scout being treated by specialists at the school, as well as kind of touring around the facility, playing, having fun, just like any other dog would. The end of the commercial is going to actually share a link that viewers are going to be able to go to in order to donate directly to the school.
It's been a week since the tragic death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, who were killed in a helicopter crash. The world has been having to cope with the difficult loss, but the NBA has decided to shake up the AllStar Game with a new scoring change to honor Bryant's legacy. Nick Hensel has more information on how the scoring is going to be decided on February 16th.
So instead of just a normal four-quarter game like it's been for every other All-Star game, each team will compete to win the first 3 quarters, with the score being reset at 0-0 to start each quarter. And at the start of the 4th quarter, the game clock will then be turned off and a final target score will be set. The final target score is determined by taking the team with the highest cumulative score to the 3 quarters and then adding an additional 24 points to honor Kobe Bryant. The first team to reach the target score wins the All-Star Game. Kobe Bryant was a 4-time All-Star Game MVP. The game meant so much to him, and he meant so much to the game. To see the NBA honor him like this will truly call for an emotional night.
Now, can you give me an example of a final target score?
Yeah, so say after the 3 quarters are up, the highest scoring team is, say the score is like 195. So to win the All-Star Game, the final score has got to be 124 for the winning team. So if you're down 195, the losing team is going to have to score 29 points to win. So you got to get to 124 points.
And finally, the abortion rates in Illinois has increased to over 7% in the span of just 1 year. We now go over to our correspondent, Kelsey Peacock, who has details on the rising number of the abortion rates.
Abortions have increased roughly 7% in the state of Illinois. The Illinois Department of Public Health has stated that there was an increase of roughly 3,100 abortions within the span of 1 year from 2017 to 2018, with the total being 42,441 abortions total. Many people against abortion believe the increase may be due to a law that has gone into effect that expands taxpayer-subsidized abortions, which also allows health insurance to cover abortions and keep them legal. People in support of abortion say that the increase cannot be credited to any cause. While this increase was seen in Illinois, the rate of abortions has actually decreased since the mid-1990s, where roughly 50,000 pregnancies were terminated.
Thank you. Now, how many abortions were from out of state?
Roughly 5,700 abortions were from out-of-state patients due to stricter abortion laws elsewhere.
And that concludes our segment. I'm Shantira Wilson with COD News. Thank you for watching.